الحمد لله رب العالمين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه ومختاره، صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يقول الله جل وعلا: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد, I want so in the minutes that we have to discuss the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Aziz, the Almighty. The one who, when He is mentioned, there needs to be no introductions, because He made Himself known to the people who He created. In fact, He instilled in them the mechanism of fitrah, that they are all inclined to recognize their Lord, that He is the Creator, the Divine, the Supreme, once the truth has become clear to them. But they already have it in their hearts, waiting for someone to remove the veil of darkness and shadow to introduce them to the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Aziz, is a proper understanding or a clear-cut example out of many of our problems. We start with the story of Ashab al-Ukhdud in Surah Al-Burooj, the hadith narrated by Suhaib al-Rumi radiallahu anhu, Sahih Muslim, where he says alayhi salatu wassalam, that there was a king and a magician, and the magician got old, and he told the king, bring to me a young wise boy so I can let to him my knowledge of magic. So the king gives him a young boy who is intelligent and wise. So he tells the boy, you stay with me in my area and I'll teach you. And he would go back to his family. So as he's going back between the family and between the magician, he meets a monk, isolated, secluded. And he likes فَأَعْجَبَهُ. He liked what the monk was saying. So he decided to go to the magician, the monk, and the family. And he came one day to the monk and he told him, look, every time I go to the magician, he beats me because I'm late. And every time I go to my family, they beat me because I'm late. So the monk tells him out of his wisdom, when you go to the magician, tell them, أَخَرَنِي أَهْلِي, my family has delayed me. And when you go to your family and tell them, the magician has delayed me, so you have no fault. And he was with the monk, and the monk was teaching him about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. But he was isolated, didn't call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the boy grows older until one day he is on the road where the people walk, and he found a huge animal, a cattle, blocking the road. And he found rocks, and he said, today I will know if the matter of the magician is right or if Allah is pleased about the monk. Today I will know. If I'm able to kill the cattle, Allah loves the monk, and his words are true. And if it doesn't have a meaning, it's only a illusion of the eyes, and it's just magic. So he takes the rock and he hits the animal, and the animal dies. So he says, indeed Allah has chosen this monk. So he goes back to the monk after he's grown older, and he tells him the story. And the monk tells him, you've now grown older, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you, and you've become better than me. So take this, whatever I've taught you about Allah, take it, and call others to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if they were to torture you, and if they were to impress on you their print, never tell them my location, don't give me up. But if you decide to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are surely going to be tested. You're surely going to be tested. So this boy goes out and he finds the advisor of the king, His Majesty. And that advisor was blind. And the boy at the time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him to cure the blind and to cure leprosy on the skin. So he came to the advisor begging that the boy, now he thought he had magic, heal me. So the boy secretly asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to heal him, and he is healed. He is able to see again. So the advisor, he tells him, how do you do this? He says, it is my Lord and your Lord and the Lord of the worlds. I can't heal, I can't benefit myself, how can I benefit you? So the man believes, and he goes, and the boy tells him, don't ever give me up. If they were to torture you, never tell them who I am. Say, it is Allah. The reality. So he goes to the king, and the king says, how can you now see? Do you have a Lord beside me? He says, yes, your Lord and mine and the Lord of the worlds. And so the king tortures the man until he gives up the location of the boy. The king brings the boy to his court, and he tells him, what have you done? Has your magic reached this great kingdom? He says, no, Allah, I can't benefit myself. But it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has used me as a tool to cure others. And so he tortured the boy until he got the location of the monk. And he killed the monk. Then he killed the advisor after they did not want to give up their own religion. And then he came to the boy and he said, if you don't stop calling to anyone other than me, I'm going to punish you severely. So he took the boy with the garrison of his forces to a mountain, a steep mountain. He told him, we're going to throw you off this mountain unless you leave and abandon your religion. So the boy kept firm, and he attested the divinity of his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the mountains to tremble, and all of the garrisons fell off the mountain and they died. The boy came back to the king telling him, look, you'll never be able to kill me. The king insisted that he is Allah. So he sent with him a garrison or a navy boat in the ocean, and he promised that if he does not abandon his religion, he's going to drown him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the boat to sink, and they all drowned, and the boy swam out of the ocean, going back to the same king, telling him, you're never going to be able to kill me. And then the king attempts another attempt, and the boy says, look, you will never destroy me or kill me until you do one thing. That you gather the people in public, like Musa a.s. did with Fir'aun. Gather them in public, let them see the truth. And then take from my back an arrow and wipe it over my chest. And he pointed to his chest. If you do that, and you say, Bismillahi Rabbil Ghulam, in the name of Allah, the Lord of the child, then that's the only way you're going to kill him. So the king gathered the people, and they began to see what's going to happen to this boy. So the king points the arrow to the spot where the boy pointed, and he threw the arrow, and it hit the boy, and the boy died after he said Bismillahi Rabbil Ghulam. And he says that the boy's head fell onto the spot on his chest where he pointed at. And then the king is happy. I killed this spread. I killed this Islamic movement. No, now everybody will have to obey me, like Fir'aun thought when he were to kill Musa a.s. And then a group of advisors who were bad advisors of the king, they told him, look, this is what you were afraid of. Now the people have all believed in Allah. You made a wrong decision. So he says, I swear, if they were not to let down their religion, I'm going to kill every one of them. So he made the ukhdud, pitfalls of the fire, and made that al-wuqud, and he filled it up with fire boiling, and he began to throw every believer who did not attest the divinity of this king. And as he began to throw every one of them, they all kept their religion. They understood that I live my life for nothing, and now that I read something honorable, something that's worth living for, how can I ever let it down? The same will of the companions of Allah when they met fear in the battle, in the face of the enemy, their statement was Ahad al-Ahad. And then a woman and her baby, it came their turn to die after attesting faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the mother became hesitant. I have a child. What is my punishment? Why is it my fault? So the baby speaks up like Isa alayhi salam, and he says, "Oh mother, you're upon the truth. فَاثْبُتِي." So be calm and keep your stance. You're upon the truth. So she keeps her baby and she keeps her iman in her heart, and he throws her into the fire. And then by that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did away with the king. And the rest of it, so not to spend too much time, the rest of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took down the kingdom of an entire town and a city by the call of one young boy. And this boy noticed that his will, he saw death by his eyes more than once. And the monk already told him that if you call to Allah, you're going to be tested, so keep firm. So he saw it more than once, and he saw fear in their eyes. But yet he had the guts and the courage to stand up and call back to Allah. The same courage that the teenagers of the cave who were 7 called their king to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا رَبُّنَا رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَنْ نَدْعُوَ مِنْ دُونِهِ أَحَدًا. We're not going to call beside anyone to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this ayah came down when the king brought these men in his court, and he told them, if you don't forsake your religion and attest my divinity, I'm going to slice you. And the king stripped all of them naked. And he says, the sword or your religion, the sword or your religion. But they still kept firm. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you know, He kept them secured in a cave, protected them until He woke them up again and tested them with the people and the people with them, until the entire village became Muslimin at the hands of those teenagers. If it's not already clear, the name Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Aziz, the Almighty, He uses His Izzah to raise the levels and prestige of an entire nation by the call of few individuals, in fact by one. To bring them out of an abyss of darkness into the tunnels of light. To become callers to Allah and His religion. To show the people the truth and warn them from the fire. But it's also this Izzah which has few meanings. This Izzah means the ultimate power. If Allah were to have a decree, no one can overtake Him and overturn His decision, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it comes in the meaning of shiddah or severity. Meaning if He were to decide the punishment on a people, they would not remain any of them. As He told us about many of the nations before. And it has the meaning of uniqueness and rare, and nadra or nudra. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's nothing unto Him, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. So that means He is rare subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is unique. The only Lord and Creator that deserves to be worshipped. But from these ayat in Surah Al-Burooj, the point of the story, وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. And He says, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا, and they have not been ordered except to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, incline to Him hunafa, and they establish salah and pay the zakah. And they are the best of the creation. In the next ayah, they're the believers. But He says, why have they done this? Made the pitfalls and punished my slaves that I love, when all we asked them to do was worship Allah, Al-Aziz, Al-Hamid, the praiseworthy, the Almighty. But these ayat they came down in Mecca, when Quraysh was at the time of strife, and they were getting tightened on in their religion. So as if Allah is saying, look at this child, and look at the believers who were thrown in the ukhdud, and be like them, keep firm in their religion. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthens their hearts, لِنُثَبِّتَ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ, that we may rest and calm your hearts. And He also told them, or the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud narrated by Ibn Majah, where he says, رضي الله تعالى عنه, أول من أظهر إسلامه سبعة, the first 7 people that broadcasted their religion were the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. and Abu Bakr, and Ammar, and his mother Sumayya, and Suhaib al-Rumi, who narrates the hadith about the people of Surah Al-Burooj, and Bilal. All of them have fallen victims to Quraysh, meaning Quraysh had something they wanted from them, so they all accepted and compromised. Out of the torture, you can't bear to see your child being harmed, so you try your best to lift the harm. So they gave in, except Bilal, إِلَّا Bilal, هَانَتْ عَلَيْهِ نَفْسُهُ فِي اللَّهِ. His soul became nothing. He saw it weightless in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith, Mas'ud says, they used to drag him in the heat of Medina, putting on him bidab al-hadid, chainmail, until his body and his meat would become eaten up, and the liquid would get out of his back and pour. And they would drag him, the young boys of Mecca, on the sand of Medina, of Mecca. And he would still say, Ahadun Ahad, Allah is the one, Allah is the one. Also, my point of mentioning this name with this story is that no one that turns to Allah, begging Him, beseeching Him, calling on to His door 5 times a day, hoping His mercy and guarding His punishment, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect him. As for those who have disobeyed Allah, so He let their guard down, so they walked right into their punishment and fell. Al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he says, هَانُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَصَوْا وَلَوْ عَزُّوا عَلَيْهِ لَعَصَمَهُ. They were nothing in the sight of Allah, so Allah did not care about them, so they fell into sin. And sin is the calling, it is screaming for the punishment of Allah to come down. But yet, they don't understand it because Allah took away their yaqadah, He took away their understanding. And of the ways to destroy an entire nation and an army is to make them think they're walking into the path of salvation, but they're actually walking to their destruction. Like the boy, he told the king, you'll never be able to kill me unless you do this. So the kid said, hey, I'm going to have my kingdom, and this boy will be done with his trouble. So he killed him, and in fact the entire nation became Muslim. So he says, so when Allah does not care about them, He lets them sin, and He keeps them sinning until they reach a point where He takes them. And if they meant anything to Allah, He would have protected them. There is a claim by many or a few individuals that rose up recently. Young men who stand up on the podiums and say, it's not the sins of the people that cause the destruction of Allah. It's in fact the ignorance of the people in the terms of the secular life. The ignorance of the people in terms of politics. That's why the Muslims are where they are. They have no say in government. But to Allah, He has lied. That is not the cause. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. And He says, كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودُ وَعَادٌ بِالْقَارِعَةِ فَأَمَّا ثَمُودُ فَأُهْلِكُوا بِالطَّاغِيَةِ. One of the Sahaba, he says that Taghiyah here is the sins. When they disobeyed, Allah sent His punishment. So what's necessary upon us all, my brothers and sisters, is to do away with the minor and the major innovations in our religion. And to not add or subtract anything in that religion. To keep it like the Messenger ﷺ has told us, it's night, it's like it's day, it's clear. No fog between this religion. The halal is evident and the haram is evident. And also, my last point in this khutbah is that when there exists the innovations and when there exists disobeying Allah directly, that's when you know the natural cause that they call natural disasters is actually a call from Allah to warn us believers and to tell us to go back immediately, or we might just be another victim. The Sahaba would ask the Messenger ﷺ, O Prophet of Allah, if we were to be a people among a society and we were righteous, would the punishment overcome us all? He says, yes, إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ, in a narration. When evil and wickedness becomes transparent and no one speaks up. So cling to the name of Allah Al-Aziz, the Almighty, and know that Izzah will never come unless you stick to His obedience, where He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, يُعِزُّ مَنْ يَشَاء وَيُذِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاء. He gives honor and prestige to the one He loves by doing His obedience, and He gives him the disgrace and humiliation to the one who disobeys Him, so He leaves him to himself. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروا الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، له الحمد الحسن، أثني عليه سبحانه بما هو أهله، وأشكره سبحانه على آلائه الكثيرة ونعمه الوفيرة، وبعد. Also, I want to remind myself and you with the story or the hadith of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu in the beginning of Islam in Mecca, for you to see how let down we were by the people who are supposed to be the family of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and supposed to be his supporters, but yet they let him down. And they disbelieved in him. Even he would come to Medina and he would go to the markets during Hajj and he would say, "Oh people, I am the Messenger of Allah, so believe in me. I have in between my hands a painful torment I'm warning you from, and I can give you the pleasure of Allah." So they say, or his uncle Abu Lahab says, "Is for this ridiculous matter you joined us, meaning you wasted our time." Or the other, the chief of the hypocrites, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, where he says, "La tughabbir alayna," don't throw your trash over us, meaning leave us away. But yet for you to know the difference between the situation in Mecca before the conquest of Mecca and when they went to Medina, how little they were. But Allah swore that He will protect the believers and He would never allow the disbelievers to have a way, to have a level over the believers. This is our hope and our confidence in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn al-Dughina, when Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says that, or the same hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, where he says, as for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his uncle protected him, Abu Talib. And as for Abu Bakr, his family protected him. But there came a point where Abu Bakr was left alone. They would come on him like cattle, trying to destroy him. And he came to the protection of Ibn al-Dughina, and he told them, "Look, Abu Bakr, I'll give you my protection." And this was the dignity of an Arab, to give your protection to a man, and let anyone break your promise and you would fight the swords with him. So he gave his protection. And the condition with the Arab at the time with Abu Bakr and Dughina at his house was that Abu Bakr did not go out in public to pray, the honor of a Muslim, to show others his religion. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he went out and he showed the people his religion praying around the Kaaba. Then they came complaining to Ibn Dughina, and then Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala showed his honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted him with. He said, "I reject your protection and I go in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." For the ulama say, or they mention that إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُجِيرُ وَلَا يُجَارُ عَلَيْهِ. Allah wills and protects His believers and those who want His help, and anyone who leaves the help of Allah for the help of anyone else, He humiliates him and He destroys him. He is the one subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to turn to, and He is the only one that allowed and took away the Sahaba from the abyss of darkness in Mecca, from their torture and their killing, all the way to their prestige and honor in Medina. And even the day that they came back to Mecca, with right and honor and prestige. These same companions who the Messenger ﷺ would walk in the beginning of Islam, or the beginning of Mecca, and he would see the family of Yasir and his mother being tortured and killed. And he would walk past them and say, "Sabran ala Yasir," be patient, O the family of Yasir, for your promises in Jannah. He couldn't help that. How imagine he felt? But he knew that one day there's going to be a victory. And there's going to be an opening on the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Finally, the prohibitions or the disobedience that happens around us, as we've mentioned, are not something new. But the more time passes, the more we see more misguidance and more confusion and more distress among Muslim communities and the others. So wallahi, a person who gets involved and he sees the reality inside, he says, how can Allah support us if all of this is going around us? In Morocco and in Tunisia and previously in many Muslim countries, there was a call to prevent and ban the niqab. And now there is a call among communities to ban the hijab even, until they degraded the hijab to a headscarf. Governments were calling in France of 2 Moroccan sisters who wore the niqab to school. So they told them, look, you're going to be expelled if you don't take it off. So they said, no, this is our religion, this is our identity. So they expelled them from the school, and then their Congress and the diplomats got involved in France about more than 6 years ago. And they got involved, their president of the country, to give his opinion, how respected he is. And he told them, look, you can differ or not differ, but they have their freedom of religion. So the former president of Morocco sends to the king, or sends to the president an advice, and he says, tell my subjects in your country to leave their hijab and leave their niqab, we don't want trouble. Meaning the French language is so silly and nice, we don't want to aggravate you guys. So he says, take off the niqab. And the other former president who Allah destroyed, where he put a formal ban to close the masajid and ban the niqab in his country, until they say that the masajid were being occupied by flies and mosquitoes. A direct war in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But yet Allah swore that every tyrant is going to lose. It's just a matter of time. I'll end reminding myself and you with the ayah, which makes a lot of sense in our time. وَرَبُّكَ الْغَفُورُ وَالرَّحْمَةُ لَوْ يُؤَاخِذُهُمْ بِمَا كَسَبُوا لَعَجَّلَ لَهُمُ الْعَذَابَ بَلْ لَهُمْ مَوْعِدٌ لَنْ يَجِدُوا عَنْهُ مَوْئِلًا وَتِلْكَ الْقُرَى أَهْلَكْنَاهُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا. And your Lord is of mercy and forgiveness. But if He were to advance the punishment of a people, it's by what they earned and what they gained of their own hands. I didn't oppress them, they oppressed themselves. In fact, they only have an appointed time that they're going to face. That time is going to come. And He says, and have you not seen the nation that we have destroyed? Have you no common sense? Don't you look at the history? And in fact, no one will prevent them from Allah when their time comes. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكيها فإنك خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. اللهم ربنا نعوذ بك من جهلنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وذنوبنا وخطايانا وما أنت أعلم به منا. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا هزلها وجدها خطأها وعمدها وكل ذلك عندها وما أنت أعلم بها منا. اللهم لا تدع لنا في هذا اليوم العظيم ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا من دون المسلمين إلا قضيتها يا رب العالمين. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم ربنا ارفع عنا البلاء نعوذ بك من الفتن ما ظهر منها وما بطن. اللهم لا تعذبنا فإنا عبادك وارحمنا فإنا عبيدك يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنك عزيز حميد عزيز حكيم عزيز رحيم. نسألك بعزتك أن تعز الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان وتذل الشرك والمشركين في كل مكان وتحت كل ظل شجرة يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.